although I'm pretty sure everyone knows who our conversation is with tonight. Um, we will have Panama Jackson in conversation with Damon Young to celebrate his debut book, memoir, not novel. What doesn't kill you makes you blacker. So Panama Jackson, of course, is the senior editor at VerySmartBrothas.com, and Damon Young is the editor in chief for VerySmartBrothas.com and also a columnist at GQ Magazine. So please give our guests a warm round of applause.
Oh, Lord, Jesus about to fall. Well, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? I want to give a quick round of applause to Damon, my homie. I'm very proud to be here, very excited to be here. Can we give a round of applause to Damon?
Thank you.
Has anybody here had a chance to read the book yet? Y'all went through Amazon. Some of y'all got it in the mail yesterday, right? Like it was in the mailbox for all y'all? Yeah, Amazon was on it.
And just thank you, Panama, for doing this.
That's very sweet.
On such short notice, you had no idea that this was happening.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, none whatsoever. So called you today, cleared out your schedule, you came. So I appreciate that.
That's love.
Yeah.
That's black love.
And just thank you, DC, for coming through and supporting. You know, this has always been, I'm in Pittsburgh, which is, it's white people's Wakanda. And I come to DC for like an injection of y'all, basically. And so thank you for coming out, and thank you for being almost like a second home for me.
That's a lot of DC love right there.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick this off. I want to do a real quickly talk about how and why this is such a big moment. Like Damon is very modest in a weird way. Like he thinks he's better than everybody else out here in these streets, but he will never say it out loud. You know what I mean? Like he would never say. He's like Nas. Like Nas wants you to say he's the greatest, but he won't actually say it. Like Jay out here telling you he the greatest ever do it, but like Nas will never do it. He just wants you to do it. Like that's Damon in a nutshell. So, and as somebody I've known for 15 years at this point, it's amazing how much I learned about him in this book. Like there are so many facts that I'm reading. Like, why didn't I know this? You were in my wedding. I feel like I should know this information for somebody that was in my wedding, part of my wedding party. That's play with my children. But so for me, this is really, it's a big deal because I'm very proud of Damon and what he's accomplished with this. For being able to take a platform that we literally kind of almost started on a lark. Like VSB started in what was like a 5-minute conversation. And to level it all the way up to the point where you have a book deal and you have a book that we're literally sitting here looking at that many people have. Like this is a dream come true for a lot of people in the blogging position. But for you, like this is awesome. And for two guys who literally met at our 3rd anniversary party, this is dope. I'm just very proud of you. I couldn't be prouder of anybody, and I'm genuinely happy to be here doing this with you.
That was sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I do. Yeah, and this is a culmination. And it's not the culmination, it's because our story, this book is done, but our story ain't done yet. So when you write your book and you do your tour in Pittsburgh, I don't know why you would, but when you do your tour in Pittsburgh, then I will be here sitting next to you asking you these same questions.
Yeah, and we met, for those that don't know, and I think you touch on this in the book. Like we met at our 3rd. We wrote a book. We never met. We just talked online on Instant Messenger. How many of y'all are familiar with Foreign Exchange, the music group Foreign Exchange, like Fonte Nicolay? All right, that's kind of our story, but like the blogger version of it. We probably had 4 or 5 actual phone conversations before we actually met in person. The rest of it was all Instant Messenger. And then we met at our 3rd anniversary, the 3-year VSB anniversary party. Very anticlimactic. I mean, he pretty much got in my car. I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "What's up?" Liz was in the front seat, and then we just drove to the space. But like that. I don't know. Like for me, I'm not gonna get emotional or cry, nothing like that. I'm just very happy for my brother. I'm very proud to be here doing this. So let's just get into some of the important stuff. Let's talk about the book. Let's do that. The title is What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker. Let's talk about the title.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
So yeah, the title, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker, is not actually the original title. The original title of the book, like when I sold the proposal and was working on the first draft, was Nigga Neuroses. That's 2 words. And that's a term that just encapsulates the state of being where you're questioning whether things happen because you're black. And not necessarily always in a negative way, but it's like, did I get a scholarship because I'm black? Did I not get it because I'm black? Did I get picked first did they pick me first in basketball because I'm black? Did I not get picked first because I'm playing hockey? And they just assume that niggas can't play hockey, niggas can't skate.
Can you skate? Can you play hockey?
I can't. I can roller skate. I cannot ice skate. And so that was going to be the title of the book. My agent loved it. My editor loved it. Some of the people, some of my friends that I shared it with liked it. I won't say love, but they were like, okay. And then my editor shared it with her people at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And they were like, we love Damon. We love his work. We're excited for his book. But yeah, we can't have a book with nigga just like, we can't have it like in the front. We can't have banner ads with nigga just in 29-point font. We just can't. We can't do that. So he's going to have to think of another title. And so on the way, we did a thing at Essence Fest last year, and on the way there, I was working on the second draft, doing some work on one of the on some of the dialogue, and then What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker just came from that. And as soon as I got off the plane, I Googled it because I assumed that this would be someone's Twitter handle or like someone's like backwoods play or like a deleted scene on like I don't know, some DVD straight to, Blockbuster DVD, and it wasn't any of that. And so now it's the title of my book. And what it means, is obviously a play on what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And so if you're black in America, you deal with white supremacy. You deal with white people. You see them, you work with them. You eat their mayonnaise sometimes. I mean, you do all these things that are, that are connected or, I don't know, maybe even surrounded by whiteness. And I think that in order to survive or even thrive as a black person in America, you have to embrace your best and blackest self. Like, I mean, we know that respectability, that's a fucking fraud. We know that trying to appease, trying to assimilate, that shit just doesn't work. And so it's almost like you have to submit to blackness and allow yourself to luxuriate in it, allow yourself to marinate in it. And so what doesn't kill you makes you blacker, I guess, is an encapsulation of that whole feeling where it's like, we're here, we're in America, we're in a country that's been trying to kill us, that was constructed on our backs. We're still here. And in order for us to still be here, we had to embrace that. And the thing is, also is that, there's so much, not necessarily people in this room or, the work that we do or whatever, but there are people who believe when they think of black, they think of like this pathology, right? And yes, we've dealt with racism, we've dealt with hate, we've dealt with violence, we dealt with, all that fuck shit. But I think that embracing blackness means you embrace love more. You embrace friendship. You at least consider the possibility of forgiveness. You don't have to possess it, but you at least consider it. It's a consideration. And it stretches your humanity in a way that those who oppress and those who benefit from oppression aren't able to experience. So embracing Blackness and being Blacker, I feel like it makes us more human. It makes us more human than they are.
Well, that was basically another chapter in his next book. Submit to Blackness, luxuriate in it.
That could be the title.
That could be it. Look, luxuriate.
That could be
When
the
you said
title.
luxuriate, I was all in.
Yeah, luxuriate and Blackness.
And I want to go on record as saying I was definitely one of the people that was like, nigga neuroses. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I feel you. That's a great title. But I also was like, I know at some point I'm going to get one of them. So they weren't going for this. And sure enough, I remember at Essence Festival, he actually was like, so what do you think about this for a title? I was like, yeah, that actually works. That was very deep. I wasn't ready to go that deep, already, but
we got to jump in.
But we do.
Yeah,
so
not?
Since we're going deep, why don't we just start with the first chapter in the book, which is Nigger Fight Story? For those who haven't read it yet, he has this. I'm gonna go back first. He had this goal of being called a nigger, so he could fight somebody about it, right? But this chapter actually opens up with the most incredible story of all time about how about it his parents are. Your parents are about that life. So tell us about this chapter and just please. I'm gonna put the mic down for this one.
Okay, so before I even start that story, you have to understand who my parents are, or in my mom's case were. And my grandmother's case were, because she was involved in the story too. My parents are like the tea drinkingest, Pat Metheny, Steely Dan listeningest, Bonneville drivingest, NPR membership ass. Like, my grandmother was white gloves on Sunday and like Tuesday randomly. Like these were my parents, okay, at that time. And so this is like 1985, 1986. So I'm like 6, 7 years old. And my mom and my grandmother, it's a Sunday afternoon, after church, after brunch, whatever. My mom and my grandmother are in this neighborhood deli. And there's some sort of altercation or some sort of disagreement with the white boy behind the register. And he calls my mom and my grandmother, again, this is white gloves, this is, Steely Dan, idolizing Tina Turner ass mom, black nigger bitches. And so my mom's like, what the fuck did you just say? And he's like, you heard me. And so my mom turned into the Terminator and was like, we'll be right back. So my dad was at Giant Eagle up the street. They go and get him. He comes back in the store. And he approaches a white boy at the register who was probably like 18, 19 years old. My wife and my mother-in-law just said that you insulted them. I'm going to give you an opportunity to apologize to him right now. And he's like, nah, fuck that, nah, I'm not apologizing. So he's like, okay, I'm going to count to 10. And if you don't apologize by 10, I'm going to jump behind this counter and kick your fucking ass with this baseball bat. I forgot to mention that my dad carries a baseball bat just randomly in the trunk of his car. My dad is like black beatnik John Wick, basically. And counts to 10. And, this white boy probably doesn't know that when a black parent starts counting, you need to brace yourself when he stops because furniture is going to start moving. And so gets to 10, white boy doesn't apologize. My dad takes a swing at a bat, misses him, hits his arm, like swings at his head, hits his arm. The white boy picks up like this knife, swings it at my dad. So they're like knife fighting. It's like a scene from Kill Bill. And my mom and my again, NPR, Pat Metheny, White Glove, mom and grandma are like just throwing olives and like salami and just breaking glass. And my mom's like, whoop that white boy's ass. Whoop that white boy's ass. I come from amazing black women. And so the police are called. Like, and it's out, by this point, it's out on the street. Like, glass has been broken. There's like shards of like racist olives on the ground and bigoted like salami just spread all over the place. The police come, they get arrested. And they're questioned by like this black woman who's like a sergeant or lieutenant, some sort of authority. And she just takes a look at them and is like, yo, what the fuck are y'all doing here? What happened? Tell me what happened. And so they explain. And she's like, you know what? Y'all can go. And they're like, wait, what about the story? If y'all don't get your black asses the fuck out of here before these white people figure out, I'm letting y'all go. So again, so imagine being 7 or 8 years old and hearing this story about your parents. And my parents, particularly my dad, he likes to repeat shit. He's the type that every family reunion, every like cookout, every funeral, he's telling this story. And so I'm like enthralled. And I'm 7, 8, 9 years old hearing this. I'd never been called a nigger before to my face. But I wanted to, just so I could have a story about the time that I kicked a white boy's ass who called me a nigger. And like even my sister had a really cool nigger fight story about the time when she was in high school choir practice. And she got in a fight with this, with, I don't know, a drummer who called her a nigger or whatever. And she got suspended from school. And she was scared that she was going to get grounded when she got home. But once my parents found out why she got suspended, she didn't get grounded. She got butter pecan ice cream. And I wanted like my own ice cream party with Polaroids and confetti and, cake, ice cream cake maybe. And so the book starts off with this story. And it just articulates just the absurdity, of existing while black and some of the absurd and surreal situations that arise from just dealing with just trying to be black in a predominantly white country. And even when I was going through that and, and that story transitions until I'm a teen and I still kind of have this desire, I even realized then that this was ridiculous to want to be called this thing, which is the worst thing you could call a black person. But I still wanted to be called that. And then I finally was. When I was like 16 or 17, I'm waiting for a bus by myself. White boy speeds by and like this Ford F-150 screams nigger out the window at me. I even turned around and looked like, oh, I'm the only nigga here. So I guess he is talking to me. And he looked exact. You remember Ricky Schroeder from like Silver Spoons and what he was on NYPD Blue for like 3 seasons. He looked exactly. I think it might have been Ricky Schroeder. He looked exactly like him. And he screamed it and he just spit off. And I'm like, yo, turn the fuck around. This is my opportunity to fight you now. And it didn't happen, obviously, because he just kept going. And even then and, with his perspective now, I just realized how silly it was to assign any sort of weight or any sort of measure of my racial identity based off of what a white person did or how a white person treated me, and again, the book delves into that, has similar stories like that. Nothing that is as like cinematic as that. And again, if you sit my dad down, you fill him with enough tea, you maybe play some Charlie Parker, he will tell that story. He will definitely share that story.
I'm going to disagree with you on the fact that there's nothing as cinematic as that in the book. Only because the next chapter, which I think is Street Cred, I think that's the next chapter. I could look in the book, but
it's right there.
It is right there. There's a chapter in there, and this kind of leads into the next thing I want to talk about, called Street Cred, which is the chapter where I learned more about you as an individual than I've known in all the years that I've known you. Mm-hmm. Because your mother and father play very prominent roles in this book. Like they are a part of the fabric of this whole book. But you talk a lot about what you've gone through in life, homelessness, economic instability, like just struggles with money and finances. Mm-hmm. There's a chapter called Broke in the book. And even in chapters that aren't about specifically being broke, like there's this undercurrent of economic instability in it. Y'all really got to read the Street Cred chapter. Like it changed my life. And as somebody I've known, like I really have to view you a little bit differently because, you have all these conversations, like everybody you know is from the streets and like been through some things. Nah, Molotov cocktails, shootouts, all kinds of stuff, like those things happened. And the way that you write about it is very interesting because there's like this detachment from it now, I think over time, the way you've dealt with it. But, talk a little bit about why you felt it was so important to include the undercurrent of economic instability that occurs through this book. Like, why was that important to you?
Well, that's it's real. It's a part of my experience. It's a part of so many of our experiences where even if you have any sort of success or status, income, savings, whatever, we're like half a degree of separation away from it being just snatched away. Like white America is like Thanos and just snaps his fingers and then it's all gone.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. And and the thing is, I'm in a circumstance now, the last 3 or 4 years have been very good for me. I don't have Oprah money or even Stedman money right now, but I definitely have upcharge money. Like I can order a thing and get like a side salad and get like a protein on that side salad and not blink an eye. So basically I have like shrimp and salmon on the salad. Upcharge money right now.
You balling?
Yeah, I'm balling. Yeah, I'm balling with the salmon. And that hasn't always been my circumstance. And like that thread of economic insecurity just kind of exists throughout the book and it still exists with me today. I write about, and people who know me, perhaps know this, that my car was repossessed. And this was in 2000 and either 12 or 13. Because of a series of late payments. I was working for a publication who I will not name at this moment. And yeah, they shall not be named. And it just started just like this snowball of, and when things like that happen, it's like, okay, well, I need to pay my phone bill, so I could let my cable bill go for a month. After that month, well, I need to pay my cable bill, but I could let maybe my insurance go for a month. And so you make these like little negotiations, just to figure things out. And with that, my car ended up getting repossessed because I was like 2 or 3 months late on the payments. I ended up getting it back. Actually, as like one of the people I asked to borrow money is my man Raymar, who's sitting here right now, and I lied to him. And I said that the car got taken by the police because of unpaid parking tickets, because I felt like that was less embarrassing than the truth. And so even today, my car is paid for, but when you hear that like beep, beep, beep of like a large truck backing up in the street, my anxiety and my fight or flight response kind of kicks in, because I'm triggered by that noise and I think it's a tow truck company coming to take my car again. And so, I know that's not going to happen now, but I'm still triggered by that. And I think I'm always going to be. And because that's just,
you don't think you can get past that? Like
I don't think
the further away that you get from that.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think that you can ever get far enough away if you're black in America. It's like,
message.
In a book, in a part of the book, I equated to a tsunami. And like, okay, so if you're working class or if you're poor, you're broke, whatever, so a tsunami hits, you're right on the coast. So you get it. You get it immediately. There's no protection. There's no infrastructure. There's just nothing. You're gone. And I think that for some of us, we get our degrees, we get our income, we get our savings, we get our doorman, we get our these little measures of success. We think we're up on a hill, but we're really just a couple blocks more inland. And that tsunami, when it hits them, it's going to get us too. We're not as protected as we think that we are. And again, I know some people might disagree with that, and some people might think that that's fatalistic, but that's not going to leave me, and I don't want that to leave me, because I can't get comfortable and then have my nigga wake up call. Because like if that shit happens, it's gonna be fucked up. I'm gonna be sad. I won't be able to go to brunch anymore. But at least I'll expect it, and it's not gonna hit me, when I'm just thinking that I'm immune to it. Because I'm not, and I never will be.
So how does that work? I mean, the last chapter in the book is called Zoe. It's about your daughter.
Yeah.
Right. So you're a parent. You actually have a daughter and a son now.
Uh-huh.
I do think that way of thinking is somewhat fatalistic. Now, I've been through the similar things. True story. He told me that his car got jacked for the tickets, but he didn't ask me for money. I think I was broke too. So just be wrong to ask another broke person for some money.
Well, you know what? And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to bring this up here. And so a part of the VSB origin story is that we met in 2004, 2005. We started VSB in 2008, and we didn't actually meet in person until 2011 at the launch party for Your Degrees Won't Keep You Warm at Night. And so Pittsburgh and DC aren't that far from each other. It's a 3.5 hour drive, basically, 4 if you go to speed limit. And when you tell people that, they're like, how did you all just never meet? How did that never happen in all these years of knowing each other? And the thing is that, to be honest, I was embarrassed, because, I knew that my financial situation was just really tenuous right then. And I preferred whatever projection you had of me from the internet and who I was on VSB and who I was on Instant Messenger or whatever, and having to come to DC, not being able to pay for things, maybe having to rent a car to get down here instead of driving my beat up ass truck down here. It was I talk about the economic insecurity, and I talk about that because I think that we attach so much of our self-worth to our net worth. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I included that in the book because I want people to read that, and people who may still be doing that, I don't want them to do that anymore. Because I just think about the things that I prevented myself from doing, the things that, I said no to because of shame. And it's a shame that, it's a shame that, when you're going through it, it feels singular. It feels like you might be the only person who's experiencing this. But once you actually talk about it to people, you realize that, a lot more people are there with you. And some of them might be performing, some of them might be perpetrating, but once you actually sit down and talk, like, I'm struggling too. And when you're going through that, again, it has like this feeling of claustrophobia where you feel like you're the only one like that's in that box. So.
Well, I was definitely going through that same thing at the same time, but I had no problems using my credit card to buy some stuff I couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. So we'd have been straight, so straight. And I just worried about it later. I'd have robbed Peter to pay Paul and just hope that one day God gonna see me through.
Well, yeah, and you had good credit because you light skin, and light skin.
True.
People,
dead ass be true facts.
Just being light skinned adds at least 175 points to your score. So, you know.
I definitely send my picture every time I
Yeah.
call because I was late. Like, hey, I'm here, dog.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, you know what? 2 more months.
Yeah, and so
All lies.
And so that's a privilege, you know, the light skin credit privilege that you were able to
Doesn't
take
exist.
advantage of. And, yeah.
I think that might be racist. All right. Let's talk about your mom real quick because she's a very important, obviously she's a very important person to you, but she plays heavily in the book. And I want to talk about something in particular before we get into that. You say the book is for the bookend Vivians.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Like, it's the first thing in the book when you open it up and you see that, it's like, what does that mean?
Well, my mom's name was Vivian. And so, the bookend is the beginning and the end. And so the book, started with my mom. And my daughter's middle name is Vivian, Zoe Vivian Young. And so the book is for the bookend Vivians who. We never got a chance to meet.
Wow. Well, that's heavy.
Nah, we never got a chance to meet. So, hopefully this book, they kind of meet in a way in the book.
It was heavy when I read it. That lends a whole new layer of, I told him before we came in here that I wanted to ask him about that in particular because as much as I saw it, I never asked him about it. And it'd been on me just to think about that. But I mean, are you good talking about your mother chapter?
I wrote it. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I
appreciate
sometimes
it,
we need a moment. I mean, that's real, dude.
I got the water. All right. I got the,
yeah, I mean, you can pour it on yourself. You need to. You won't even notice.
I got the Sharpies. I'm good.
All right, so there's a whole chapter dedicated specifically to your mother. Towards the end of the book, as we get closer, to the end of the book, and it's about how your mother passed away and why she might have passed away when she did. How maybe it would have been different for all these other reasons. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So my mom, it'll be 6 years in October since she's passed. She died at 60. She had lung cancer. And she was diagnosed a year before she passed. They gave her 6 months. She took those 6, stole away 6 more, and then finally succumbed. And the book talks about how, and I remember vividly, how in the years, not months, in the years before she diagnosed, she would complain about, stomach aches, back aches, headaches, joint pain. And you could see, and my mom was, this really sweet, kind woman, and you could just see just the pain just emanating from her. And she'd go to the doctor, they give her Advil, maybe tell her to take less Advil, drink less pop, get more exercise. Which are all good things, in a different context, and even in her context. But I wonder if her pain would have registered in a different way, if they would have taken her pain more seriously, if they would have done more tests, if they would have searched for more things, if they would have maybe saved her life, if she wasn't Black. If she were, instead of this working class Black woman, if she were some upper middle class white woman, would the pain would have registered the way that it didn't register with my mom? And that memory and that feeling exists in the context of knowing that, there are studies that you could read that show that doctors still believe Black people and Black women have this supernatural tolerance for pain. There are still You know, I mean, Serena fucking Williams almost died after childbirth because the nurses or whatever in the maternity ward, didn't take her concern seriously. Like, she gives birth to her daughter, she's not feeling right, and she's like, "Hey, there's something wrong with me." And they're like, you just had a baby, you're fine, blah 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 blah. And this back and forth is going on, and she keeps at it, and then finally, they do whatever test they need to do, and they see, like, holy shit, we need to do something, we need to fix something, because she had the history of blood clots. And this is Serena fucking Williams, who has all the money, all the status. She's an athlete. She knows her body. Like, her body is an economy. Basically, there are people who make money, who are on vacation based off of Serena Williams' body and what she's able to do with it. And she wasn't believed. And so, if that is the status for her, what about my mom? What about my wife? What about my daughter? And the chapter just deals with that. And also, it's like, so I'm aware of all the studies, and I'm aware of the history and whatever. And I'm like, I'm 99.99999% certain that my mom's race impacted how she was treated. 99.99999% certain. But can I say without a shadow of a doubt that she would have been treated differently if she were white? Can I say that? Can I be 100% certain about that? No, I can't be. And that little tiny bit of doubt, that little just incremental amount of of indecision or whatever, that's where the neuroses exists. And that's the sort of shit that could drive you crazy, because you think that the thing is happening because of the reasons that you believe, but you're not sure. And I don't know if being sure would make me feel any better about my mom not being here. I don't know if there's anything the doctors could have done. And maybe they did everything they could have done. Maybe they did. But I know the history. I know what my mom went through. I know what other women like my mom went through and are going through. And I don't know. I can't believe it.
All right. We're going to open up the floor to Q&A now. So if anybody has any questions, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone over to you.
Yeah. Nice meeting you.
Oh, nice meeting you too.
Uh-huh. So I'm from another generation. So I need some clarity on how I won't accept the N word. But there's a certain generation, your generation or whatever, can use that word so easily in content relating to us as people and that sort of thing. I just, help me, really,
Okay.
really help me, because again, I just take offense to us as Black folk, African Americans, using that term. And I know I hear some folks say, well, we can use it as a term of endearment. But I love my folk, but I would never call my brother here. I just don't. So help me with your generation using that term so freely and so loosely. And would your mom or your grandmother feel comfortable with having that word being said so loosely by your generation? I look forward to reading your book.
Oh, thank you, and thank you, thank you for the question. And there's actually an entire chapter in the book that breaks it down. why I use the word, and the distinctions between the nigga and the nigger with the hard R, as a what's his name, Don Glover, called it. But to answer your question, I definitely respect people's feelings about that word. And I recognize that not everyone has the same history. And that if you grew up at a time where that word represented nothing but venom, and you recall that you were forced to maybe feel you were dehumanized with it, I understand having just having a distaste or a disgust for that word. I get it. And I understand that. And I can't necessarily speak for like my generation. I can speak for me. And for me, that word, and I'm talking about nigga, there's been nothing, it's been wielded with nothing but love. Like when I think about that word, I think about hanging out in Newcastle, PA, which is where my dad's from, and hanging out with my uncles, my cousins, and them just hurling nigga around, drinking Jack, eating Newcastle chili dogs. And that word was it was a word that implied like this sense of connectivity and community. I think about the basketball courts that I spent like all day on growing up in Pittsburgh, and how when I first got to the court, I was that little egg-headed nigga. And then I graduated to, oh, that's my nigga. And then once I got to be a point where I was like the best player there, it's like, oh, that's that nigga D. And so, again, it's been, my relationship with that word has just been different. And it hasn't been like the source of evil or the source of anger or the source of animosity that I know that it has been for other people, particularly people who, lived at a time when that sort of thing was more overt. And the thing is, I remember being upstairs pretending to be asleep, like 6, 7 years old, hearing my parents say it to each other. Talking about do the right thing, or talking about how bow-legged Spike Lee was, or talking about whatever. And I remember sitting up in bed listening to them and hearing like my mom and dad getting along, having a that's it. And I did. And so ultimately, I look at that, I treat that word the same way I might treat a profanity. Or if I'm in someone's house, and I know that they have a feeling about that word, I won't use it. I won't use it in their presence. Because I'll, don't cuss around me, don't use that word around me, fine. But when I'm on stage, or when I'm writing my book and I'm doing the things that I do for a living, then I use it because that's part of me, and that's just a function of my lexicon. It's a part of my lexicon. So again, I appreciate your comment. And again, if we are in conversation, then there will be no niggas at all. There will be if we ever invite me to your house, it could be one of the, no shoes, no niggas, okay? Okay. I'll do both. But yeah, it's, again, I have a different relationship with the word than you do. And really that's why I use it, and again, why I understand why you would.
Can I follow up a question with that? So if you agree with utilizing the word, how would you accept the fact that a white person would just call you nigger because you like to be called nigger? So is it be okay to a white person to call you nigger?
Well,
So if it's no, then how do you make the difference between a black person calling you a nigger, white versus a white person, because you're using just a word. So where do we cut the line? Where do we just separate the line?
See, thank you for asking that question. And I've never thought that was a hard line to draw. It's like,
The audience is like, no, it's not acceptable. So
no, the audience is, no, that's not that's not the response. Yeah, that wasn't the response. And again, I don't want to make light of your question because that's a sincere ask. But the murmur you were hearing from the audience was like, no, white people can't say that word. And I could say nigga, 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 and that doesn't give any white person a license to use it because it's a word that, because it's this word that has, we've been called it and we've kind of repurposed it. We've earned that. And we can decide whether or not we want, like we could have the conversation that we just had about whether we want to use it. But that's not a conversation that they can have. And that line is very clear to me. And they can listen to songs with it in it. They could read text. I hope some white people read this book, and there's all the niggas in the world are in this book. Just like if you are offended by frequent N-word use, then this ain't the book for you. But yeah, they just haven't earned it, and I don't even feel the need to really explain. It's just like, no, you can't. It's like, I feel like I'm the kid at the park that's playing at the park and he has like a football laying over here in the grass, and some other kid rolls up. It's like, can I play with your football? No. Well, you're not playing with it. I don't care. That's my football. And I said, no. If you want to play with a football, get your own fucking football. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's a word that we own, and I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of words in the English language. I mean, there are new words that enter the dictionary every week. It's like, we're just asking that you just don't say this one. And, I went to Catholic school, middle school, and that was my first time being exposed to the slurs that the Italian kids would call each other, the slurs that the Irish kids, the Polish kids would call each other. I never once wanted to use those words. And so I don't understand. I mean, I get it because white people just have struggles with no. So I get that. But taking whiteness aside, I mean, I just don't understand that compulsion to even want, like if a white person asks, can I say this word? The response is, why would you want to?
It's probably our last question.
Don't put that pressure on me. We can do one more. I'm curious, just the process of writing the memoir, was there anything that you left out of the book or that the editors asked you to leave out that you really wanted to be in there?
No. Actually, there's nothing. Well, the second part of the question, about a thing that I wanted to be in there that the editors took out, like there were some jokes or maybe some asides that maybe didn't work or were maybe egregious or whatever, but no, like, nothing in terms of the larger, content or like the narrative. I basically, they gave me a lot of room and let me basically do my thing. And that's the thing, like the best editors want you to be the best you could possibly be. And so in order to do that, I had to be as authentic and as transparent and vulnerable as I could possibly be too. So there were actually times when I would send a paragraph back, I would send a chapter back, and she would send it back like, yo, you didn't go far enough. Like, I know you have more in you. I know it might scare you to go there, but you need to go there. And particularly with some of the stuff that I write about my parents, some of the stuff I write about, you know, just certain anxieties and neuroses that I have, you know, it's the editor, and also, you know, I had a lot of friends that I would share stuff with and, you know, to get their feedback from. They, like, just kind of pulled that shit out of me, too. So that process and I know that our process isn't, or my experience isn't, I'm not gonna say it's unique, but not everyone has had it. Because I've talked to other people who have written memoirs and who have had more adverse relationships with their editors. And also too, you didn't ask this question, but I'm gonna say this, is that, so there's this, and I talk about it, we talk about people who create any sort of content, talk about, you know, the concept of the white gaze and how you want to subvert it and just not be cognizant of it and not write to white people, not think about white people, not center white people when you're creating work. And that's the aspiration. And that should be the aspiration for us. And I believe that I did that with this book. You know, it's a black ass book about black ass people. You know, and I believe that I did that. But my editor is white. My publisher is HarperCollins, and I've never met Harper or Collins, but I'm assuming that they're white. I haven't Googled them, but I'm just going to make that assumption that they're white. So, am I really subverting the white gaze? If I'm creating this piece of art that I believe is black, but I'm doing it in a predominantly white industry, in a white-dominated industry. Because someone, you know, they are the gatekeepers with this, so someone had to approve it. And is the white gaze connected to that approval? And again, that's a question, I don't have an answer for that. I don't, you know, that's the thing that I've been thinking about just throughout this whole process. It's like, you know, I'm trying to be black as fuck unapologetically, all that shit, but this is a book that is sold by a white publishing house. And if it's successful, it's going to have a large white audience too.
All right. Can we give our guests?
I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you again for everybody for coming out tonight. I see it's, you know, they're limited seats, so I appreciate you coming here. It was a nice day today too, you know, and you came here, there's stuff inside of here, and it's all hot. So I appreciate that, and thank you, Politics and Prose, for hosting this, for inviting us up here. Thank you, Panama. Please give a hand to Panama Jackson. To allow me to use his credit cards. So thank you for that. And I hope that if you decide to buy this book, that you feel it, that it lands with you, that it makes you laugh, that you enjoy it, and that you recommend it. So thank you again.